Hello everybody, welcome to the new section. In this section we are going to talk about the introduction to the Matplotlib. So Matplotlib is one of the libraries that is being used in data science a lot. So let's dive in. So this library Matplotlib is used to plot a data. Let me just give you some examples and let's see how it looks like. So before diving to the Matplotlib, we usually use different tools like the Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. So we provide a small amount of the data and it is going to generate us the graph like as you see on the screen. Or we can generate a different ways of the graph. So that is the pie chart. But using the Matplotlib and the Python language, we can just generate different and more advanced styles of the graph, as you see on the screen right now. And here is the official website of the Matplotlib. You can just go ahead and analyze it. They have a different documentations. If you go to the documentations, and they have a lot of detail information here. And also, if you go to the examples, let's analyze what kind of different examples we have. So we have different types of chart, different types of graph, and you can just see what is possible using Matplotlib and Python, what kind of different charts and graphs you can generate. So let's start learning some basics of the Matplotlib library. So the first, of course, what we need to do is we need to bring the library to our environment. So I will say import, but here is a little bit tricky. I will say matplotlib.pyplot. By the way, let me just go ahead and I'll open on my second screen because yes, pyplot. Why we are doing that? You see, we have a Matplotlib that is the library, and inside the library we are just picking one of the sections because Matplotlib that is a lot. So we need only that section, and I will give a short name. Let me just see the PLT. Do you remember for the NumPy, we say import NumPy as NP, like import pandas as PD. So we are just giving a short name. And yes, so my Matplotlib is ready to use, so I download it. The second step is that, guys, do you remember that we are working with the data? So that is a data science. So we need a data. So right now, since we are diving into the basics of the Matplotlib, we will not give the real examples now. So we are going to generate some data. And of course, what we need to generate, we need to NumPy. So I will say import NumPy as NP. Yes, NumPy, thank you so much, because we are using them to generate numbers. So let me just go ahead, I will generate it. So I will just say NP, and I will use the linspace. I do believe, guys, you remember what is the linspace. It's one of the functions. So I will just provide what is my last one, and let me explain what I did so far. I will get my pen, and here it is. So I'm telling my NumPy library, hey NumPy library, I'm using this function, start from the 1, and finish with the 10, and split all numbers in 15 equal numbers. So all 15 numbers will be split here and will be between 1 and 10 included. Okay, perfect. So I believe we covered all of them during the NumPy sections, and let me just call it X. Or let me just call it A. So that is my A, and later on, if I want to call my A, how the A looks like, perfect. So it started from the 1, it finished with the 10, and I have a 15 numbers in between, equally distributed. Perfect. So, but I need my B too. So why I need the B? Because right now we are working with the 2D graph. Because if you remember from the math classes, I have my X axis and Y axis. So I needed two values in order to find the points. Another point. So that we are going to combine them. So that was my A values. Let's imagine I will put my all A values here, and I need my B values. I will put my B values here. That is perfect. So if you want, you can generate another numbers. You can say go again from the NumPy linspace and make it 1, 10, 15. It's up to you. So you will just come up with any data you want to work with. But here what I want to say that B is equal to A to the power 2. So basically what I'm doing right now, whatever the A is. So let's imagine my A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm telling my b is going to be to the power 2 of a, so that is going to be 1, 4, 9, 16. So this is the way I selected. If you want, you can use something different. If you want, you can use the NumPy library to generate your b arrays. So yeah, that is just the sample that I want to use. So let me run it, and let me just call it. Can you print a and b for me? Perfect. So this shows me a, and that shows me b. That is the to the power 2 of the a's. Okay. So right now I am done with the generating data, and I'm going to use these data in my next activities. Perfect. So guys, do you remember that in the pandas, when we're working in the pandas, we need to organize them. We need to put them on the data frame. We need to make it a little fancy. We need to give the name on the rows and the columns. I see there we have a lot of digits after that here, like a lot of decimals. So we did a lot in order to clean the data. But since we are going to work with the visual, we are going to work with the graphs, there is no need to go ahead and clean them. And by saying clean that, it doesn't matter for me if I see 1.6 or if I see 1.6428, because I will not see the numbers itself. I just want to see the location. Does it make sense? Perfect. So I will not go ahead and reshape them somehow because my data is ready. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I will say from the PLT, let me see, you see guys, the PLT has a lot of functions. I wish we had the time and cover all of them because I want to learn them too. But you don't have to. It depends on what you are going to do. Maybe you will be, imagine that we have two people and both of them the data analyst, but one of the person is working in the car industry and another working is banking industry. So if you use the Matplotlib, maybe one of you needs some features, another one will be different features, even if you are in the same position. You see, depends on what you are going to build. But in this course, we are just going to cover the basics ones that everybody is using. Okay, so right now what I'm going to say that from the PLT, I want to plot my numbers. Oops. And right now it says that, hey, can you just give me your data? What will be on the x-axis and what will be on the y-axis? I will say A and B. Do you remember that we just generated A and B? So all A's will go to my x-axis and all B's will go to my B axis, and it is going to plot. And ba-bam, the big game is about to start. Perfect, I did my graph. That is perfect, guys. You see, so right now, since I have all my to the power 2, so I will go ahead and make to the power 2's here. That is perfect. And after that, what I can do is I will say, let me just say that, PLT X label. Let me just label it. Let me just call it X values. And let me show you what I did. You see, I just renamed it. I put a label here. You see, guys, how easy is that? I'm just generating my own graphic. Of course, it's a simple. You can say there's nothing to do it. So Microsoft Excel can do it or Google Sheets can do it. Of course they can do it. But can you imagine that what else you can do? Because you have full control on your graphic now. Perfect. So what else I can do? I can say PLT X Y level now. And I will say, let me just call it Y labels. You can call it whatever you want, but later on, whenever we are going to make a project, for example, you will say that is items and those are the prices of items. Or you can say that is my students. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you will give the students names and you will say that is the grade of the students. And you will see if that class is growing or falling down. So it will give you visual stuff, you see? So it doesn't matter what kind of data you have. So you don't need to care about like how many digits you have in the decimals because we cannot see them. It's clear here. And one more, I want to show what if I want to put a title here. I will say PLT title, and this is my title. Let me just run it and pop up. So I can make it fancy and so on and so on and so on. Of course, later on, we will see how can I change the text. So I can make it bigger, smaller. How can I change the background and so on and so on. Those are just extra modifications. As long as you can do your graphs, guys, that is good. That is perfect. So I see the blue line. as a default, so the Matplotlib is deciding what color to use. I'm not sure why it's giving blue. I think it's default or something else. But what if you want to change your color? So we provided here in a plot what is my X value and B value, and after that there is another one. I can specify. Oops. I can specify. Where is it? If I put R, that means for the red, so I'm going to have my red color here. Or you will say that I don't want to see the lines, I want to see the stars here. You see, I'm putting star here. If you run it, and perfect. That is good. Let me just copy all of them and we will just make some modifications here too. I will not give anything. I will say you can just choose any color you want. But this time I will say B and A. So what I did now, what will be the difference from this graph? So here on the x-axis, I plugged B values. What is my B value? Here is my B values. You see? But on the y-axis, I put A. So I will be having a little bit different view now. So if you look like that one, you see? Perfect. So I have another graph because my B values are here and the y values here. By the way, I need to change it. So I will say, let me call it B values and let me call it A values here. Because you see, my B is on the X. And perfect. So that is my B values and that is my A values. So that is the basic one. And time to time, guys, we are going to dive a little bit in deep and let's see what we have. Before moving on, any questions so far?
So in that quotation that you put to change the color or put stars, can you put any sort of value in there and it'll change to anything?
They have a lot. If you look on documentation, they will give a list of different symbols you can use. Of course, you cannot use all of them. So for example, what I want to use, let me put a line. I put a minus. Most probably it will give error. Oh, it didn't give the error. Maybe they use the lines here, but we cannot see. But what if you want to put a dot? Let me just put a dot here. Or I'm not sure if it's going to work. Yeah, they put a dot here. Basically, maybe yes, all of them. But let me put a slash. Backslash.
Underscore also works. What about like letters?
If I put the letters, thank you so much. Let me put the X. If I put the X here. Yes, perfect. X did work. Let me put the T. No, T didn't work. You see, so they have a certain characteristics.
Yeah, X can also be like a symbol, right? So
perfect. So now we will dive just a little bit in deep. So imagine that you have two graphs that you want to see them side by side or up and down. So for example, you have two students and you want to match them and to see like in the same space to analyze them in the same time. So right now I see only one graph. What if I want to have another graph over here? So what I will say that from the PLT, subplot. Let me just explain what is a subplot is and I will explain what I'm doing right now. So right now, let me just get my pen and I will explain. So from the my PLT library, I'm using this function and I'm just giving some numbers. And what these numbers means. So the first one is shows what is the row, how many rows I have. The second one is showing me how many columns I'm going to have. And by saying that, so if you use these combination 1 to 1, so I will be having one graph here and the second graph side by side. But if you use it 2 1 1, I didn't talk about the third one yet, but just focus on these two. So I'm going to have, so that is the 2 rows and 1 column here. So that means I will be having 2 graphs like top on each other. You see? And this is showing that the number of the graph. So this is my first graph. My first graph will be here. Okay, so that is a. So let me just go ahead and I will. So I will say plot. Oops, PLT plot A and B. Let me just run it. Perfect. It did it. You see. So right now I have one row and 2 columns. But you can ask why the second column didn't pop it up here, because we specified we needed 2 columns. Since I don't have any graph, so it will assume that is blank. Okay, no worries. What I can do is I will say that, hey, on the same one for the PLT subplot, I want to use 1, 2, 2. Uh-oh. And I will write and I will explain just a second. Plot. And this time, let me call it B and A. So let's see what is going on. So here in the first one, I've already discussed it. We have one row and we have two columns, and that is my first picture will go inside. Now I have the same one, the one row and two column, and that is going to my second picture, second graph, and the graph is here, B and A. If I run it, and I can see two graphs back to back. So this is A to B, and that is B to A. And if you want to change the color of that, what you can say that, let me make it red. Why the second? Oh, not here, not here, sorry. It should be go back here. So if you run it, perfect. The second one is here. And if you want to put the titles, and of course you can rename the X values and Y values as we did over here. So the only thing, let me just put the titles and you will see. So the PLT title, this is my first one. You see, this is my first one, and I will put for the second one, PLT title, this is my second one. Perfect, and this is my second one, and you can go ahead and make two. If you want, you can make it more. What if I want to put up and down? So I will be changing here. Now I will say that, hey, I need two rows and one column. By the way, let me just keep it. I will just make a copy and put it here. So that is going to be 2, that is going to be 1, and here that is going to be 2, and that is going to be 1. If you run it, perfect. You see, so right now I have a top to each other. So in which cases we are using them, imagine that you are a data analyst, but you are generating API. And do you remember the API is you are working in the team and your team has a website. Of course, you are not the person who is dealing with the website, so somebody is doing the website, but they will tell you, hey, we want to plug your graph on the side of our website. So you need to generate these codes, and they will just take your codes and they will put on their website, and your graph is going to just will be published on the website. So that's why maybe they will say, can we put up on each other or side to side? So yes, this is how we do that. Now, what we did is we just covered the basics one. So I will be showing another way to make the same one, especially this first one. This one with a little bit in hard way, and you will be asking why we need to use the hard way, because we are going to make the same one. Actually, yes, we'll make the same one, but the second way that I'm going to show you, it's object oriented. I'm pretty sure that some of you are already taking maybe Java classes, JavaScript classes, or other scripting languages, guys. So whenever we talk object oriented, so let's imagine, guys, do you see we have a data? So that is my set of data. But what if your data is constantly changing? What if you are designing a website for the stock changes or like grading changes in the school, you see? So you don't have your stable data. Your data is changing. And based on these changes, guys, your graph must be changed as well. Maybe it will change it once in a minute, or it is going to change every second. So who knows? So you see some graphs are like they need to be live. And for example, I do believe I showed these pictures before. Let me just Google here. And cyber attacks. So if you look in the cyber attacks, let me just go to live, because they have a graph, some live graphs. Let me just look on that one. By the way, some of you are taking my cybersecurity class, and we know that the cyber attacks is happening like every second. So there's a lot of attacks right now. You see, this graph is happening live because the log files is going to the database, and that database is generating the Matplotlib, you see? So maybe this graph is changing every second, every half second. And by the way, that is a live attack, you see? So companies, people, they're attacking each other, and it's a huge. So mostly, the America is getting attack. You see, oh, yes, guys. Yes, Europe and America. So everybody's trying to attack these two continents. So what I'm saying that we need to have a tool that we call it object oriented, that is going to generate graphs based on the live data, and the data can be changed at any time. So how we can do it is, guys, so now it will be a little bit advanced. Maybe some line of code will not make sense, which is absolutely okay. And by the time, whenever you're going to make some practices, you will get used to. So what I'm going to do is, let me just go ahead and I will start. So what I'm going to do is, from the PLT, I will say figure. That is one of the functions in the PLT, and I will save to the figure. I will explain what I'm doing right now. Let me just save it. Ugh. So actually what I'm telling Python, hey, PLT, can you just make a canvas for me? So make a space that I'm going to plug my graph on it. So now it's ready, and after that I need to generate my axis. So from the figures that we generated here, I want to add axis. And let me just put some numbers and I will explain what I did so far. So we have some numbers here, and let me just call it, oops. I will explain, guys, what I did so far. So this is my canvas. So we have four values here, and I will explain what they are. So this is the function that we are using from the PLT, from the Matplotlib, and that the figure is already defined here. So basically, what is the meaning of that numbers? Let me explain here. So we have 4 numbers, and all these numbers must be between 0 and 1. No more 1, no less 0. They can be equal to 0 or they can be equal to 1, but that is the range. And all numbers will be between. It can be 0.2, it can be 0.17, or whatever you want to use. So, but make sure that we have 4 numbers. So what does it mean? Imagine that we have a canvas. So that is my canvas. And on the canvas, I want to put a couple graphs. And I'm talking about the first graph. Let's imagine that is my first graph. Okay. And we need four values. So the value number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And all of them will be a number between 0 and 1. So the meaning of the first one is, what is the percent of the x-axis? So how far I need to be away from this line in terms of percent. So if you put a 0.1, that is going to be 1% out of my frame. If my frame is bigger or smaller, so whatever is that. So it will always be 10% away from this line. So on the x-axis, okay? So the second one is how far I need to be away from this line on the y-axis. So that is the distance from here to here. If you put a 0.2, that means it's a 20% away from here, okay? And these two is height and width in terms of percent. So if you put a 0.5 and 0.5 here, out of my canvas, I'm not sure how my canvas is going to be. It may be huge or it may be small. If I put a 0.5, so that is the 50% of my entire canvas on the width and on the height. So imagine that I have a 20 inches on that side. That means that is going to be my 10 inches. If I have a 40 inches on this side, so that is going to be my 20 inches. Okay, it's a little bit kind of confusing, but time to time you will get used to them. So that is all my 4 numbers. But let me just make a modifications. I will put a 0.1 here. I will put a 0.1 here, and I will explain, and you will see the difference now. 0.8 and 0.8. So what does it mean? That from the x value and from the y value, just get away a little bit, 10%, and I want to use only 80% for entire my canvas. Okay, so if I run it now, it will not that much make sense. So you see, that is my canvas. So that is my canvas, and that is 80% of my canvas. You see, so because we are going to plot the second one, third one, and you can do as much as you want, but these are showing me what is the size which is related to my axis. So we run it that. Now, what I'm going to do is, right now I'm going to plot my data now. So this is my axis. This is my canvas, and this is the frame that I'm going to plug my first graph. Okay, you can call it ABC, or you can call it frame 1, or you can call it image 1, so whatever you want to call. So from here I will say that on my that axis, on my that frame, I want to plot A and B. You see, so A and B was plotted here. Perfect, that is good. And also I want to give some names to that. Do you remember that we just renamed it? It was PLT title, or it was PLT X label, and Y label. Here it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. What I can say that from my axis, I want to set X label. Now it's a little bit different, but you will see. So let me just say that that is my X values. And let me just say axis set Y labels. I'll say Y values. Let me just run it. Perfect. I can see my X value and I can see my Y value. And let me put the title. Set title. Oops. Let me put the main graph. So perfect. So right now everything is done. I put my graph on my canvas. Where is my canvas? My canvas is here. That is my first. So now it looks like there's no difference between the one that we did here. It's almost same. I see my title here, I see my X label and Y label, and so on and so on. But whenever we use this function, which is figures, that is object oriented, so later on if I see my data are playing around, so I can do modifications here. So what I'm going to do is, what if I want to plug the second one? Let me just call it axis 2. On the axis 2, I will say from the figure add axis again, and now I need to put some numbers. You see, guys, I put the parentheses and I put the brackets. I want to make it a little bit smaller. So let me just get my pen. Let's just decide where to put. So let's imagine I want to make my small one somewhere here. Okay, so let's see how far it is on the x-axis. It's about 0.1 far away. How far it's from the top and from the bottom on the y-axis? It's, let me just put it here, 0.5. 0.5. Okay, and if that is my canvas, if that is the canvas, what is the percent of that? Let me make it a little bit smaller. I can say 0.3 and 0.3, and later on we can change these values. But please, I just want to make sure that you understand what we have here. How far I'm on the x-axis, how far I'm on the y-axis, and what is the size if I compare with my entire data canvas. So 0, 1, 0, 5, 0, 3, 0, 3. Okay, so let me just put it here. 0, 1, 0, 3, 0, 5, and 0, 5. So let me just run it. Yes, perfect. That is cool. But it's too close. Now they are overlapping. Because do you remember that the first one was also 0.1 away from x, and the second one is also 0.1. So this is my x, this is my canvas, and both of them are 0.1 away. Let me just shift it a little bit. The second one, I want to start from here. So what I can do it, I will say it's not a 1, let me put it 15. And that is going to be dive a little bit in. Perfect. And let me make it a little smaller because it's huge. And I will say it's not a 0.5. Let me put 0.35. Oops. 0.35. So if I run it, let's see how it looks like. Cross the fingers. Perfect. Now it's good. Let me just put a little bit up because that is... Let me put a 4. You see, you can go ahead and play with those graphs. Perfect, that is good. And now I'm going to plug my data inside. And I will say that on the axis 2, because we are working in the second figure now, I want to plot. Now I will make a B and A, and also I want to make it red. Let me just run it. Perfect. That is good. That is amazing. Why we need so? Let me just give some examples that later on we are going to work with the real data. Let's imagine we have a 100 students or 100 bank accounts. Okay, and we are going to analyze what is the behavior of that bank account overall. So that line, which is blue, is just giving me the transaction of all 100 accounts. So it shows me. But here I just want to specify one person only. Let me just call person A, and I can compare that person with entire, like all accounts. You see, so it's good to have the graph inside the big graph, which is cool. And also, if you want, you can go ahead and rename that. So you can just put a title. Let me just make a copy paste. Do you think, guys, if I run it, it is going to work? Actually, it will not, because we are still working on the graph 1, axis 1. So we need to change it. I will say axis 2, axis 2, axis 2, and that is my, that's not my main, let me just call it small graph. And if I run it, perfect. So that is my X value, that is my Y value, they are overlapping, you see? So you can go ahead and make some changes, so make it a little bit nice view, and so on and so on and so on. So this is how it works. What if you want to put on the side, not inside that big graph? So do you remember that we need to show how far I'm going to be from my X value? What if I will put 1? You see? So I'm going to be 1, like 100% away from this line, from my beginning of the canvas. So let me just run it, and it's right here. You can move it wherever you want to move it. Perfect, and you can compare that way. If you have the third one, you can put the third one here as well. And yeah,